Well, good afternoon, everybody, and a very warm welcome. Welcome to our webinar. So, how to specify and justify motorized functions on power wheelchairs. That's our topic for today. So, for those of you that don't know me, my name is George Holbert, Sales Director of Yorkshire Care Equipment. And just a little bit about us. Apologies to those who already do know, but it's our 50th birthday next year, so we're excited about that. We're established in 1972, and our mission, our real driver, is to enhance quality of life. So really in everything that we do, providing the equipment and service that we do to enhance others' quality of life. And we work a lot with healthcare professions over the industry, such as occupational therapists, physiotherapists, and others, and often carry out individual specialist joint assessments either in our showroom here in Harrogate or on site. So just a few wheelchair statistics to kind of whet our appetite. So there's estimated 1.2 million wheelchair users in the UK, which is a very, very significant proportion. I guess we're talking about sort of on percentages around about sort of 2% of the population. 2/3 of them are regular users, so use a wheelchair quite a lot of the time. Difficult to really get an understanding of how many of those are in power wheelchairs, but when we're into the millions, we're talking a lot of people. In terms of a survey done on power wheelchairs, only half of the patients that use the chairs feel that they've got a good value for money, which is an interesting stat. And then under 20s, this proportion falls just to 1/3. So particularly important that our patients, those that we serve, are ensuring that they're getting a good value for money. Which really leads us into the importance of getting it right, which is what we all try to do. So there are really a few sort of thought-provoking questions here. How do we get it right? So about the carrying out a thorough and holistic assessment, ensuring that we know all about the models and options which are available, because that's what they're reliant on us for. Documenting well any assessment in the form of a prescription, justifying why we're going for those, you might say, features, benefits for that particular user. If they do go ahead, and when delivery comes about, ensure that we're setting up the wheelchair correctly. And then, of course, most importantly for these patients where their conditions may vary over time, that we're regularly reviewing them and their needs. So at this point, I will hand over to our guest speaker. Very warm welcome to Pete Jones from a company called Permobil. I'll stop sharing my screen now, and Pete will kindly take us through the presentation. Thanks, Pete.
Hello. So thank you. I'm off mute now. Bear with me 2 seconds. Okay. So hi everyone, and thank you very much for George and the Yorkshire Care team for inviting myself and Permobil to be part of this webinar today. First off, I would like to apologise for any of you that were expecting Arne to be on this webinar. Unfortunately, he won't be joining us today. He's currently involved with a new product portfolio after a recent acquisition of Progeo with some of my colleagues in France. So unfortunately, you are stuck with me today. So first of all, I'd just like to introduce myself. My name is Pete Jones, and I am the Permobil UK product specialist for powered mobility. I've been working with Permobil now for the past 5 years and have been involved in medtech companies for the past 15 years, predominantly focusing on the mobility and assistive technology rehabilitation sector. So today I've been asked to give you a sort of very high level overview of the power functions that are available on powered wheelchairs, their uses and what sort of benefits these can offer to your users. So we'll start off with a very brief introduction to Permobil to give you an idea of Permobil's global reach, our values, and then I'll walk you through the main power functions that are available on the powered wheelchairs, focusing on some of the USPs of Permobil along the way, but mainly generically on which functions are available, what they mean, and the benefits clinically, functionally, and socially that these can offer. And then we'll finish off with the anterior tilt function that is unique to Permobil and why we are so proud of this function and what this can offer additionally to your clients, before handing back to the Yorkshire Care team for the live Q&A session. So first off, just a very brief introduction to Permobil. So the gentleman on the screen here is Dr. Per Uden, who was the founder of Permobil back in 1967. And he founded the company with the purpose to make the lives of people living with disabilities easier and more enriching. At Permobil, we work tirelessly to make this happen, no matter if you are designing a wheelchair, testing seating cushions, or supporting the therapist. This commitment drove our founders to pursue their dreams of providing a better life for the physically challenged. It now drives us to push the boundaries of design and technology in pursuit of innovations that help improve the quality of life for our users. Thanks to this, our solutions are known around the world as being the best in class, the best built, the best designed, and the best for empowering people's lives with their disabilities. So as you can see from this slide, we have a truly global reach with production sites on 3 continents and over 1 million products distributed annually. All the Permobil M and F series power wheelchairs for the UK market are manufactured in Timrå in Sweden. So just moving very quickly on to the next slide, I'd like to show you Permobil's latest introduction video, which demonstrates the culture and the approach of the company.
I am not my disability.
I'm a gamer, a foodie,
A boss lady. I am a mother of 3.
A best friend forever.
I am a hugger,
A toucher.
and all over the place.
I am sporty.
Outdoorsy,
Outspoken. I am fashion.
I'm old-fashioned,
I'm hot as hell.
Scared of heights.
and grumpy in the morning.
I'm independent.
indecisive,
Insecure.
I'm hilarious and the most boring person ever.
I am party in the front.
and party in the back.
What I am not.
Is the same.
but none of us are.
We are all individuals with unique interests, needs, and goals.
We believe that everyone should have the right to live the life they want for themselves.
Whether it be exploring the world
Dog walking,
or binge watching their favorite show.
So instead of searching for the things that we do the same,
Let's champion the things that set us apart.
because we're not innovating for disabilities.
We're innovating for individuals.
So one thing that I always notice about that video is that the focus is on the ability and promoting the user's independence, not the product that they're in, be it the manual, the power chair, the power assisted device. It is about the user's personalities, their passions, and their enthusiasm for getting the most out of life. So as we can see on this one, it's very important, it's very clear that we focus on the individual needs and we focus on the user. We look at what their goals are and we come up with a solution to suit every individual user. And to do that, we offer a wide range of solutions to meet these individual needs. We have a range of power, manual, seating and positioning, power assist, and then software and services, which is an often forgotten area within this industry, with fleet management being offered on all of our M and F series power chairs, meaning that we can remotely diagnose and monitor chairs wherever they are within the world. So some people think that a wheelchair is just about mobility and getting people from A to B, but it's much, much more than that. It's about giving the person ability. We design all our solutions with the user ability in mind. Our end users will spend many, many years in the wheelchair, their entire life or entire adult life. For some of these, it will be vitally important that they are comfortable for these years. For example, somebody with cerebral palsy, the average age of diagnosis is 0 years, and they could be spending on average up to 40 years in the power wheelchair. Spinal cord injuries, average age is 43 years old for diagnosis, and you could be in a wheelchair for 20 to 25 years. MS, mean age around about 50 years, 10 to 15 years in the chair. And then lastly, ALS, average age is 55 years, time in a wheelchair is 1 to 2 years, which is a sad statistic. What Permobil use when they're looking at designing and manufacturing new products is an evidence-based product development approach. So we focus on the groups, we focus on the users, their needs, we engage with the users to discover what they require, what they want from the chair, not just what we think they should have from the chair. And then we always follow up with post-market surveillance, ensuring that we are meeting those needs, and if not, moving on to developing better products in the future that will meet those needs. And one thing about Permobil as well, we are signatory to the UN Global Compact. We report annually on our sustainability, and we have a new sustainability policy that was put in place this year. It's key to who we are at Permobil, and as a business, we want to see everyone in society live full lives and meet their full potential. So we believe that we have a special obligation to stakeholders to do more than the bare minimum and to continuously improve. We set ourselves high standards and continuously strengthen our sustainability approach. And we've recently undertaken a new materiality analysis to identify our priorities and a written new sustainability policy. So our 7 priorities: improving users' life, quality of life, strong business ethics, responsible sourcing, and so on, derive ultimately from our purpose of innovating for the individuals. So going on to the main focus of the webinar today, which power functions are available and when should you use these and how to justify them. So Permobil considers medical needs, and there are many secondary issues common to all wheelchair users, regardless of the reason that they are in the power chair. Preventing secondary complications from using the chair for long periods of the day is an essential part of promoting good health and enabling users to live as life as independently as possible. This can enable safer transfers, reduce the risk of falls, enable seat functions to promote an active life, compensating for the loss of function, while preventing secondary complications from using the chair for long periods of the day. It enables movements and body positioning to prevent these secondary complications. And we also reduce risk for pressure injuries, falls, edema, neck and shoulder pain, and helps to improve the rest and relaxation of the user. So firstly, we'll look at the posterior tilt. This function allows the user to change their position without changing the angles in their joints, which can be important for users with spasticity to prevent increasing muscle tone. The tilt function, whether it is now anterior or posterior tilt, is important to increase functionality. Due to the changed position of the center of gravity, users can gain trunk stability or improve control at the level of the head. If you think about an MND diagnosed individuals with weakness of the neck, the tilt function can facilitate spinal extension and improve that head control. It's also very useful during negotiation of an incline, where the tilt function can compensate against the incline angle and preserve the postural stability. The tilt function is also an important contributor for the comfort of the user, allowing them to reduce the load on the spine. It is known that tilting to 15 or 20 degrees, preferably more, redistributes pressure from the ischial tuberosity towards the backrest, and it helps to prevent shear forces. Whilst the lift function raises the user, which improves peer level compensations, this also helps with hyperextension of the neck. So moving on to the legrest elevation. So the second power seat function is the power legrest, which can contribute to the safety of the user. So the power legrest provides a safer position for braking or driving, especially when going downhill. If the user has some residual muscle force in the extensors of the lower extremities, it can be extra useful. The power legrest changes the total length of the power wheelchair and can help influence the accessibility in the shortened position. The wheelchair is provided with the smallest turning radius as well, and it facilitates a closer approach to the ADL. whilst increasing the angle of the power leg rest can improve ground clearance. The power leg rest can allow the user to frequently stretch the lower extremities, which can contribute to lower risk of contractures. And it's critical when providing the power leg rest function that you adjust the amplitude of the actuator and to limit the range of motion in line with the functional capabilities of the user. Otherwise, the user will end up in a position with posterior pelvic tilt and whilst using the power leg rest function. So a third power function is the recline function. And even though that we do not recommend isolated usage of a recline function, the combination of a recline with tilt and or the power leg rest can significantly improve outcomes for our power wheelchair users. The recline function enables users to change the angle in the hip joint, which is important to improve sit-in tolerance. Also helps reduce hip pain related to prolonged seating, and it has a positive impact on the respiratory and digestive function. Opening the hip angle has also been shown very beneficial for users during catheterization and for bladder emptying. The recline can be a great function to support health when using the tilt to reposition into a pressure redistributing position. We recommend to use the tilt function prior to recline to prevent shear forces. And then when repositioning back to the upright seated position, we recommend to first adjust the recline prior to tilting back to upright. The combination of the tilt, recline, and power leg rest can provide users a position to prevent or reduce the symptoms of edema and orthostatic hypotension. It can also provide the user with a relaxing position, which is important for the user's comfort. This combination has also shown to be beneficial at the level of independent repositioning. The gravity force can help users to reposition back to the rear part of the seat independently. And a 180-degree recline function can support the need for horizontal transfer or transfer in the supine position. Moving on to the dynamic seat elevation function. So this can be first used to support the execution of transfers. Whether it is independent or assisted, the muscle force needed from the user and or the caregiver to go into the standing transfer position is significantly lower, which means that users can execute independent transfers for longer and safer, but with also a reduced load on the caregiver. The lift function increases the range of reach, and this is to help preserve shoulder health. Otherwise, reaching should always be recommended in the frontal direction. The lift function raises the user, which also improves peer level conversation, prevents hypertension of the neck from making eye contact, and prevents tight neck muscles. Having the ability to communicate at the same level of your peers also has a positive impact on the self-esteem and self-awareness of the users. There is also a fifth power seat function, which is the standing function, which we're not going to discuss today. I'm just going to move on now onto anterior tilt benefits and when you should use it. So first off, we've got some animations of the Permobil chairs demonstrating anterior tilt in different situations. This shows frontal approach and getting under a desk and keeping the user in a very safe, secure position whilst allowing you to get close enough to the desk. We can also program these features into the memory functions, and these can be accessed via quick access buttons or through the memory of the joystick. They can also be used to lower the foot plates to the ground, which can aid with safe transfers. And then in daily living, where people would like to be presenting, for example, as a teacher, you're able to get into a nice position while safe and secure. And then finally, on this animation, it's very, very important to know that when you're elevated and you're anteriorly tilted, Permobil do not lock the suspension, which reduces the shocks and vibration and allows you to carry on without the risk of causing issues with the shocks and suspension through vibrations to the user, which can lead to spasticity. So onto the anterior tilt. There is a significant amount of assumed outcomes of the usage of anterior tilt function on the power wheelchairs. Since the user is moving in an upwards and forwards direction, we can expect to see improved functional reaching in the frontal plane. But for the same reasons, we also expect to see improved contact with the speech partners, since you have the capability of moving closer to the individuals. When executing transfers with a lift function, the user still needs to slide to the front part of the seat. The anterior tilt function helps to bring the user in a more transfer-ready position. We can also assume that the transfer execution can be facilitated easier. When using the Permobil anterior tilt, the recline and power leg rest functions automatically adjust their position to support this. The hip angle is opened, so we expect to see the same positive impact on seating tolerance, a reduction of hip pain, and the respiratory and digestive function to be improved in combination with using the recline functionality. We also expect to see the impact on the posture of the user with improved pelvic positioning and a greater spinal extension. So with seat elevator alone, there are numerous challenges that users without the anterior tilt function face. Starting with safe functionality. The lift function increases height, but this is limited, a difficult approach due to a footplate positioning, meaning that the user cannot approach the task face on and end up reaching in the lateral plane. Also, reaching above the shoulder level can be an RSI risk due to weak rotator cuff and impingement of tendons and muscles, which could lead to significant loss of function or pain. Active reach helps to facilitate safe functionality by allowing the user to approach their activities daily with front on, reducing the risk of shoulder injury, maximizing the use of available upper extremity strength, and improving the line of sight whilst taking on the task in hand. Transfers just using the seat elevation can lead to a high risk of falls, whilst transferring to and from the wheelchair. There is, of course, the risk of physical injury from this, and it can also lead to anxiety and avoidance of using the chair. Reduce functionality and also participation, and can also be a danger of injury or overload to the caregivers. The active reach allows for safer transfers with less effort, reduces the amount of effort required by the caregivers, and eases the movement forward in preparation for the transfer.
Yeah.
One of the key challenges when working with power wheelchair users is positioning, and it's often caused by a lack of postural stability, which can result in posterior pelvic tilt, flattening the natural curves of the spine, and lead to a very kyphotic seating position. An anterior tilt may improve seating.
Immunization program in schools. So I was like, so when I looked at it, it wasn't talking about the actual COVID. It said for
The anterior tilt
I didn't know school children got flu
may
vaccine.
improve the seated posture. It helps to activate and maximize use of the available core strength and enhances the stability of the neutral spinal alignment and allows for enhanced activities, especially in the working and educational environments. It's well known that seated positions increase intra-abdominal pressure, leading to reduced translation of the diaphragm, lessening the inhalation and the ability to cough fully, which can lead to increased risk of airway infections or pneumonia. Decreasing of the peristaltic movement of the intestines, leading to increased transit time and therefore increast risk of constipation. Food empties better from the stomach when we alternate between positions, and it is often worsened by prolonged seating. The anterior tilt facilitates a change of hip angle during sitting, allowing physicians to provide movement and function of the intestine. The positioning also allows a deeper translation of the diaphragm, resulting in a deeper inhalation and a stronger cough. Many people who use wheelchairs experience spasticity or changes in muscle tone. Spasticity can be triggered by any sensory input like pain, vibrations, shocks, etc. This leads to inefficient energy expenditure, fatigue, where the change in position and decrease in functionality can also lead to increased shock. Anteriorly tilting allows for weight bearing to be applied to the lower extremities, which is a frequent treatment for this technique. The power function also allows the movement and the stretch of muscles to reduce spasticity, helping to enhance therapy goals and support or improve the existing range of movement. Power wheelchair users have a decrease of their visual field based on the ride height of the chair, where they are always sitting, which can lead to communication challenges, especially in busy places. It also leads to hyperextension in the neck whilst trying to make eye contact, and increased tension in the neck muscles and strain on the vocal cords. The user is also a greater distance from the conversation partner, which causes the user to have to increase the volume to be heard. Once again, another strain on the vocal cords. And I've often heard from users that when they are out and about with an able-bodied friend/family member, that people will often approach the user, friend or family member, instead of communicating directly, which can have a negative impact on self-esteem. The anterior tilt function brings you closer to communication, increases the interaction, improves the speech production, and can lead to enhanced engagement in activities. So with the anterior reach function, a proper evaluation of the functional needs gives the user the ability to be as independent as possible. It's also linked to social and emotional needs. The power functions enable an improved reach, such as reaching into the fridge, reaching shopping in the supermarket, leaning forward over a colleague's shoulder when reading on the computer, for example. And then using these power functions can lead to improved performance of activities of daily living, helping out with meal preparation, grooming, self-care, dressing, self-catheterization. This improved function leads to the users being able to do more things on their own and may reduce their need of caregiver assistance, which is important both in an integrity and a financial perspective. So supported with proper assistive technology, the users are able to do what they love and value. The independence reduces the burden on the family carers and professional assistant, and can even help the enabler to go to school or to perform work. It can help improve your social status, both within the home and the family, with work and any activities that interest the individuals have. Health economics impact of being more independent, both in terms of facilitating paid employment and minimizing the use of caregivers. So of course, we couldn't go through the entire presentation without a mention of the flagship product at Permobil, which is the F5 VS, which once again opens up a whole new world of possibilities. So just an animation on the screen, just showing the chair going from a seating to a lay flat to a full stand position, which whilst it's in this full stand position, the chair can still be driven safely on a flat surface at obviously a reduced speed. So thank you very much for your time. If you require any further information, please feel free to reach out to me via Yorkshire Care, and I'll hand back to the Yorkshire Care team now for the live Q&A session.
Well, thanks very much for that, Pete. There was a lot covered there. Sorry, apologies, there was a little bit of background noise towards the end, but we'll certainly share the PowerPoint slides with everybody. And should there be any questions, please feel free to drop them on the chat now. Otherwise, we can certainly assist later. So just really a reminder as to who we are. Yorkshire Care Equipment. We've got a section of our website dedicated to resource, which would really encourage you to go online there and check it out. There's justification templates, lots of training videos, especially seating ebook, which we've put together based around seating, but of course we know a lot of that translates through to the mobility products. There's a lot of duplication there, so really encourage everyone to dip onto the website and download those resources. They're free, and we like to share. And then just really a reminder, this is we've got a lot of webinars that we've carried out over the last few months, particularly on long COVID seating. Again, jump on to the website, have a read have a look at those. There's 1-2 questions just popping through now. So Pete, one is, what are the price ranges for these powered wheelchairs? I wondered if you could just touch on that.
Yeah, sure. So the M3 starts at £6,300. Depending on which power functions are required, the average price for an M3 is around about the £11,000 mark, and that's with multiple power functions, including the lift, tilt, leg rest, elevation, and recline. If you're looking for just lift and tilt and some sort of fairly basic postural supports, you'd be looking at around about that 8,800 retail price mark. And then we go all the way up to the other end of the scale with the F5VS. That starts at 22,500, and average selling price of that is around about 24.5 to 25 roughly. Once again, depending on a assessment being carried out, understanding what the user's needs are, and if a user just requires a sort of very basic chair with just tilt, for example, we can facilitate that for around about sort of £5,500 with our M1 model of seat.
That's great, thanks for that, Pete. And an additional question, again from Andrew, is there any discount through the NHS?
So with the NHS, it would be mainly driven through the personal wheelchair budget at the moment, which would then be passed to one of our local dealers that would carry out the assessment. The personal wheelchair budget would obviously be taken off the cost of the chair, but the retail price would remain the retail price.
Yeah, that's helpful, thanks. We do work along with a lot of the wheelchair services. So as Pete mentioned, there's now a personal wheelchair budget, which many of you be aware of, which is like a contribution really towards the cost of the chairs. Of course, if it is a purchase through a charity or through a private individual, obviously those prices that Pete's quoted are without VAT, which isn't chargeable. Additional question here, which I'll seek to answer: could they be on a loan as well for trial period? We appreciate that, you know, particularly the chairs with the anterior tilt, and of course with the stand, there's a lot of money bluntly being put towards these chairs. So we would facilitate a very full, you know, and detailed assessment. And if it was felt necessary, then I'm sure we could look at on an individual basis a trial period to ensure success. And whether you want to add anything to that, Pete, from your experience.
Yeah, I mean, we leave that down to each individual dealer. We only work with a select dealers throughout the UK, and they would carry out an obligation home assessment with the specific product that the user is due to have. From a point of view of sometimes a very quick turnaround is required. At present, Permobils are being, from point of order to point of dispatch, is averaging at under 10 days at present time. So the chair can often be with the user very, very quickly, which can take away the need for the trial period if the assessment is carried out correctly, which it always is.
Yeah, thanks for that. I must say, I'm not just saying that because Pete's on today, but I've been very, very impressed, particularly in the current times that we're in, as to the dedicated and quick turnaround for a very specialist piece of equipment. We've had a lot of supply chain issues, as you'll appreciate. We supply a wide variety of equipment, but it's been quite a standout case. Any of the Permobil chairs that we've ordered, how quickly they come. So tribute to Permobil there in controlling their supply chain. And just really as Pete's mentioned, we have our showroom here in Harrogate. We do a lot of home assessments on site. Just to stress, they are no obligation. We've worked along with professionals for many years now, so I'd hope and like to say that we've built up a good reputation in the industry. So, you know, we certainly stress an obligation side for us to come out with the machines and, you know, give a detailed and holistic assessment with the support of friends at Permobil. So if there's any other questions that you have, feel free. We'll send an email out with the slides. Feel free to drop that on there along with your feedback. And thank you very much for coming on today. Thank you for attending. And we'll look forward to hearing from you all. Thank you.